You mentioned decreasing inflammation with the ketogenic diet. A lot of people think inflammation equals bad. Let me turn it off. Let me gobble ibuprofen or leave while I'm icing everything that hurts. But I don't believe that is your particular recommendation for folks.
Absolutely not.
When is it right to inhibit inflammation and when is it not?
Inflammation is absolutely essential to adaptation. There's a good study out of my former university, University of Illinois, Chicago, where they actually knocked out the inflammatory cells and they then gave a stimulus for muscle hypertrophy, and the animals couldn't hypertrophy their muscles nearly as well. We know that if you take high levels of vitamin C and high levels of vitamin E, you actually decrease aerobic adaptations because part of the stress is the reactive oxygen. So we know that. We know that if I take ibuprofen and I'm young and I've just done a heavy lift, I can decrease some of the adaptations. Or if I sit in an ice bath, I can decrease some of the muscle protein synthesis. It's going to lead me to bigger, stronger muscles. What we have to do is we have to find that balance between inflammation and anti-inflammatories. Again, we're going to go full circle to the start of the podcast and say, I am not going to use anti-inflammatories that are pharmaceuticals or other things. I am going to use load as an anti-inflammatory. The reason that your muscle feels sore after you've done a heavy lift is because there's inflammation within the tendon. The tendon has a little sensory organ called the Golgi tendon organ. What it does is it senses tension on the tendon. So if I put a whole bunch of water in there or fluid, now there's more pressure, and that's telling me that I've got more load on the muscle. I don't have a pain sensor, so I interpret that as pain. So if I do an isometric contraction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze all the water out of it, and that's going to get rid of the inflammation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do shorter duration isometric holds, like even 5-second isometric holds are enough to squeeze the water out. And then I'm going to do that again. Go back 5 seconds. So I can go right to left. So I'm going to go 5 seconds onto my right leg. Then I'm going to go over and I'm going to do a side lunge to the left. Then I'm going to do 5 seconds on the left. What I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to use the loading and the muscle contraction to squeeze out the liquids from the connective tissues from the muscles. So now what I've done is instead of using something that's going to turn off everything, I'm just adding a little bit of minor load that's not going to cause my legs to get heavy or anything. It's just going to squeeze out some of the inflammation. And I start this the moment I twist my ankle. I sit there and I'm doing alphabets. So I'm going and doing capital letters where my toes are tracing the alphabet. And all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that I'm using load through the tendons and the ligaments that have just been sprained by that pull when I've twisted my ankle. And I can do that, and I can twist my ankle really badly. And I've done this where I've had a really bad inversion sprain, playing intramurals here with my lab. At 55, that's not the best thing to do. But you do that, and then you're like, oh, crap, I sprained my ankle. But now at least I know I don't ice, rest, and do any of that stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do loads where I'm going to put load through those ligaments. I'm going to pull on them, hold it, release. Pull on them, hold it, release. And that's going to pump all the liquid out. The next day you wake up, there's still bruising there, but the ankle is the normal size and I can go out for my run. What it tells us is it tells us that we've gotten into a bit of a habit. We're going to do pressure ice. There's no harm in it. So let's do it. We're going to compress. All of it is trying to do something that I can do if I just put load through that system. So I don't use the anti-inflammatories. I use load as an anti-inflammatory.
Ice bath, just as a fan of ice baths, mostly for mood elevation, kind of Vincent van Gogh style, when they used to prescribe cold baths for melancholy. How much space would you provide after a workout or training stimulus before doing something like an ice bath?
It's all about optimization. So if you are training for life and you don't have to be the best you that you can be, then what you want to do is you can say, look, do your ice bath in the morning, lift in the afternoon. That overnight, you've got mTOR activation all night long. Now you come out. If you turn off mTOR, no big deal.
Yep.
That's kind of what we're saying. And then if I do that and I get out and I do a warm up and I go out and do my aerobic or my rhythmic exercise, now I can actually go into that with maybe feeling a little bit like the aches and pains are a little bit gone. And now I can do that aerobic exercise in the morning. And now I've got this split where I'm doing some of my strength when I'm my strongest in the afternoon. And for your supplementation question, right before my biggest protein meal of the day, because I'm going to have most protein at dinner. So now my strength is close to my dinner. I'm going to then sleep and get all the recovery. And then I can get up and I can do my endurance in the morning. And that's going to allow me to actually optimize those combination of strength and endurance.